Welcome, you have reached review time with Imperial, and today's review will be the Endgame Season 1, Episode 10, Season Finale. Let's get into it. Now, if you notice, if you've been following all my videos in regards to the Endgame reviews and recaps, I've been saying series. But after tonight's episode, I'm going to go with this is definitely going to be this is season 1. It will be a season 2, and it went through a little rough patch there where I was kind of sketchy, but then it picked up, and then I was tuned in ever since. So subscribe to the channel, like the video as we begin. So this one picks up. Of course, we know Elena was buried in a box. Her group of henchmen was searching her, and of course, they find her in a nick of time, and she was like, "This, finish this." The president spoke with Doak, telling him that basically you need to step up for your country. He basically said, "I know a way that we get to Elena. I've been having agents stalking out where her daughter is." And of course, Elena has a contingency plan where the old house has a tunnel that leads to another house somewhere else, and that's where they're going to retrieve her daughter and the daughter nanny. I take it. Meanwhile, at the jail, Owen and Sergey is rolling in what is now gold into trucks, and then they dipped off and hid underneath the trucks. Now these trucks is pretty much being run by Lady Bella. She's still in the gold, and it was 4 white trucks with nothing written on them, and of course they ripped the advertisement off, so now they're no longer plain trucks, they got advertising on them. Now, meanwhile, you have Val and Anthony, they're putting together all these clues. The president told Doak pretty much that it's bad information out there on me, and you need to protect the country and get this information erased. So Doak has pretty much virus drives that he's going supposed to be putting inside of the FBI's system to erase all their information. And he gets to a point where Anthony was watching him, and he did one, then he thought about not doing the other. Meanwhile, the FBI director was aware of everything and pretty much told Anthony, "Don't tell nobody." He's going to use that to blackmail the president. And that's pretty much the end you see of Doak pretty much for this episode. Meanwhile, so you have Sergey and Owen. They finally reveal themselves, and they snatched the henchman from Lady Bullock and took over the truck and dipped off. Meanwhile, the other trucks is headed to a port where Val ended up being, and Elena called her, and pretty much at this time Elena has her daughter, and she tells Val, she giving riddles and stuff. Pretty much told her that it's the 3 trucks that was up there. Only three of the men have a gun, and pretty much the other men is just there. So they end up killing the men. They retrieve the gold. Now Lady Bullock is pissed because her gold has been retrieved, and of course there's 1 truck full of gold. So at that point, the director of FBI calls Val and tells her, well, they were tipped off with the information. They like, how did y'all was here? How did y'all already know what we were tipped off? So you find out that Owen was with where you would have thought he was with Lady Bullock, but he's with the CIA. He was undercover for CIA. He never told Val, so Val feels betrayed. So they start playing back into Elena's riddles, and pretty much stated Elena gave him. It has to start back from the beginning, and pretty much where Sergey and her was buried in those bomb it was two churches like that in the area, and she told Anthony go to one, and she went to another. By this time, Sergey pulled a gun on Owen, pretty much letting him know, "I know you. We're CIA." And so he had Owen get out the car. By that time, Val chose the right church, so she had the gun on Sergey. And all of a sudden, guns was flying, and in came Elena. Elena pretty much linked back up with Sergey, and they just broke down everything of how they already knew that Owen was CIA and everything like that. So they left pretty much off to the races, had the truck go somewhere else with the gold. Meanwhile, they're supposed to meet somewhere on a back road to an airport so they could drive off. So they on a dirt road somewhere, and it didn't look good. It was all set up like, oh, this magical moment, you know something was gonna happen. Meanwhile, back at Fort Totten, you have the director of the FBI, Owen, and Val, and she's upset that she feel like her marriage was a sham. She thought that Owen was her soulmate, and now she had some doubts because he wouldn't tell her. And so the director pretty much understood, but you know, Val is different. She felt as though, we in this together to the end, you should be able to tell me. But he didn't. He stayed true to his, his orders, and he couldn't tell nobody, so she feels betrayed. So she told him she needs space. And he pretty much told her, like, yeah, we could just, be done with this and go live our own lives, and no, that ain't gonna happen. She's not with that. So by this time, she's playing all these messages from Elena in her head and thinking back. And at the time when she met with Elena did tell her that she had more copies of what the president had did, and she just said, be careful not to pull that thread. So Val is playing that in her head, and she's just looking all around in the room. And then she said, pretty much, if I put this in front of you, you would never know it. You wouldn't believe it. And so she started looking and looked up in her room where Elena was, and there was her blue dress she was wearing. And Val goes up there, and she sees a thread on the dress. Pause break right there. Now we're going to get back to the dirt road where Sergey, Elena, and their daughter is. Someone put the spike traps on the road, and the truck crashed. Of course, Lady Bullock pulls up. Sergey gets out. He just swinging, punching people. Now, he took a shot. Now, I want to think either he took a dart shot or he actually got shot in his neck. So he was pretty much linked over in the truck. And in walks Lady Bullock. She comes and talks to Elena, pretty much letting her know, like, where's my gold? And so they came in and snatched her daughter from her. She came out swinging. They shot her in her arm. So Lady Bullock goes and talks to her daughter, or their daughters, and pretty much tells her the story that, she had to pretty much kill her dad, but the mom is something different. In the earlier episodes, we see a girl running, and you see the same girl, Elena, killed this girl, and she killed this man, and she twisted the other girl's neck. You find out that Lady Bullock, that was her dad and her sister who Elena killed. So she been having revenge for years. So you find out that backstory. So that played out. Meanwhile, she snatched the little girl and said, get my gold, we could do a switch, let me know what you want to do. So she took off now. Meanwhile, they put a bomb where Sergey was in the car, and Elena is holding her wound in her arm, and she's walking towards where the truck was that had her daughter. And before she walked up a little bit, the car blew up. Now we're gonna have to assume right now but it shows Sergey looked at the bomb at the time he was still conscious. It showed him look at the bomb. So we're gonna have to assume right now Sergey is gone and he was blown up. But the way, we didn't all watch these movies and TV shows, something like that, we didn't really see a body or anything like that. A full blow up, somebody that could freak that he got loose, and before blown up, he dove and was unconscious, and somebody come find him, and he show up a season or two later or something like that. If they could get a lot out of this, if you think the Blacklist is at season 9 now, so they could take this there a few seasons and he pop up in another season. So nevertheless, that's what happened there. Fast forward to at the same time this has happened, Val is back at Fort Totten, and she goes and pulls the thread on the dress, and it's a mat. Basically, I assume this is the mat where the other recording drive is. So Val gets that, and right at that moment, she gets the phone call, unknown caller, and she said, here's a troubled voice said, I need your help. Of course, that's Elena calling Val. And that's how it ended. So overall, they did their thing. They pulled it off. This was definitely a good series. Season 1, it was a success. Shout out to the lovely actresses that did the lead, Marina Baccarin and Ryan Michelle Baif as Elena and Val. They did their thing and kept in tune the whole time. And like I said before, couldn't be mad with the beauty you was watching displayed on the screen as well. So nevertheless, subscribe to that channel, share the video, leave a comment if you enjoyed the whole series. If this is your first time listening, you can check the playlist, and you could go over everything and do your own summary. Also got a review of Killing It that's on Peacock stream with Craig Robinson. I got a review of that series as well, and also Ozark season 4 part 2. I got a review on that as well. So tune in. I got a lot of content on the channel. Subscribe to as well. Till next time.